Earlier in this lecture, we talked about, or I talked about, the customer journey and all the multiple touch points and where do the social media and digital marketing and internet companies get all this information. So I think this is a good explainer of how it happens. It's from a piece called The Data Brokers that was on 60 Minutes. Not too long, but I think you will find it interesting.
Over the past year, a huge amount of attention has been paid to government snooping and the bulk collection and storage of vast amounts of raw data, all in the name of national security. What most of you don't know or are just beginning to realize is that a much greater and more immediate threat to your privacy is coming from thousands of companies you've never heard of in the name of commerce. They're called data brokers, and they're collecting, analyzing, and packaging some of our most sensitive personal information and selling it as a commodity to each other, to advertisers, even to the government, often without our direct knowledge. As we first reported in March, much of this is the kind of harmless consumer marketing that's been going on for decades. What's changed is the volume and nature of the data being mined from the internet and our mobile devices, and the growth of a multi-billion-dollar industry that operates in the shadows with virtually no oversight. Companies and marketing firms have been gathering information about customers and potential customers for years, collecting names and addresses, tracking credit card purchases, and asking people to fill out questionnaires so they can offer discounts and send catalogs. But today, people are giving up more and more private information about themselves online, without knowing that it's being harvested and personalized and sold to lots of different people. Our likes and dislikes, our closest friends, our bad habits, even our daily movements, both on and offline. Federal Trade Commissioner Julie Brill says we've lost control of our most personal information. Are people putting this together and making dossiers?
Absolutely.
With names attached to it, with personal identification?
The dossiers are about individuals. That's the whole point of these dossiers. It is information that is individually identified to an individual or linked to an individual.
Do you think most people know this information is being collected?
I think most people have no idea that it's being collected and sold and that it's personally identifiable about them and that the information is in basically a profile of them.
No one even knows how many companies there are trafficking our data, but it's certainly in the thousands and would include research firms, all sorts of internet companies, advertisers, retailers, and trade associations. The largest data broker is Acxiom, a marketing giant that brags it has on average 1,500 pieces of information on more than 200 million Americans. It's much harder for Americans to get information on Acxiom. The company declined our request for an interview and is fairly vague on the methods it uses to collect information and who its customers are.
It's not about what we know we're sharing, it's about what we don't know is being collected and sold about us.
And Tim Sparapani says it's a lot. He's been following the data broker industry for years, first as a privacy lawyer for the American Civil Liberties Union, then as Facebook's first director of public policy. He's currently advising tech companies and app makers. Sparapani thinks people would be stunned to learn the kind of information that's being gathered about them and that could end up in their profiles. Religion, ethnicity, political affiliations, usernames, income, and family medical history. That's just for openers. What about medications?
Certainly. You can buy from any number of data brokers, by malady, the list of individuals in America who are afflicted with a particular disease or condition.
Alcoholism.
Yes, absolutely.
Depression.
Certainly.
Psychiatric problems.
No question.
History of genetic problems.
Yes. Cancer, heart disease, you name it, down to the most rare and unexpected maladies.
Sexual orientation.
Of course.
How do they determine that?
Well, based on a series of other data points they've bought and sold. What clubs you may be frequenting, what bars and restaurants you're making purchases at, what other products you may be buying online.
And all of this can end up in a file somewhere that's being sold maybe to a prospective employer.
Yeah, not only can it, it is, Steve.
with all this information and your name attached to it.
Yes, exactly.
Sparapani says data brokers have been flying under the radar for years, preferring that people know as little as possible about the industry and the information that's being collected and sold. But the evidence is there if you know where to look. We were able to go online and find all sorts of companies peddling sensitive, personalized information. A Connecticut data broker called Statlistics advertises lists of gay and lesbian adults and Response Solutions, people suffering from bipolar disorder. Paramount Lists operates out of this building in Erie, Pennsylvania, and offers lists of people with alcohol, sexual, and gambling addictions, and people desperate to get out of debt. A Chicago company, Exact Data, is brokering the names of people who have had a sexually transmitted disease, as well as lists of people who have purchased adult material and sex toys.
No one has ever looked into these lists. In fact, most of this has been completely opaque until just recently. The depths of this industry, the really darkest corners, have yet to be exposed to any light whatsoever.
Every piece of data about us now seems to be worth something to somebody, and lots more people are giving up information about people they do business with, from state departments of motor vehicles to pizza parlors.
Most retailers are finding out that they have a secondary source of income, which is that the data about their customers is probably just about as valuable, maybe even more so, than the actual product or service that they're selling to the individual. So there's a whole new revenue stream that many companies have found.
That data becomes much more valuable when it's married to the personal information that's being volunteered on the internet. Take 5 Solutions, a data broker in Boca Raton, Florida, runs 17 websites like GoodParentingToday.com and T5HealthyLiving.com, where people can share stories about their families and health. What web visitors don't realize is that Take 5's real business is collecting and selling the information. There's all sorts of people coming on now.
That's right.
And there is also an invisible side to the internet that most people have never seen. When you're online visiting websites, you may think you're alone, but you're not, as digital privacy expert Ashkan Sultani showed us using a software program called Disconnect, which was created by a former Google engineer. What's this stuff?
So when you visit the New York Times homepage, there's a number of companies on the page that are essentially tracking your visits.
When we clicked on NewYorkTimes.com, the software revealed the presence of more than a dozen third parties that the website had allowed in to observe our movements.
These are all companies that either place ads or measure people's behaviors on that site.
So as you're going through the web and doing your searching, you've got a whole crowd following you.
That's right.
There were ad networks and marketing and analytics companies measuring traffic and page views and cataloging our interests. And some of this information you think is going to go to data brokers?
Definitely.
Wow, look at that. We found the same thing going on at the 60 Minutes website. They are everywhere. So they're really inside your computer.
They're inside your browser usually, or your mobile device, yes. They're called...
And you haven't necessarily invited them in.
You have not invited them in. And most computers or browsers allow them in by default.
Do companies collect your web browsing history?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, this is the primary piece of data collected online. As you click through the web and view car sites or read about the news, companies, these third parties, will collect your click stream as you click from site to site to site to see what you may be reading, what you may be interested in, what types of things you might buy.
And almost all of it is for sale, especially any personal information that you might volunteer. The more companies know about us, they say, the more efficient they can make the advertising. You're looking at one of the commercial pillars of the internet. Sultani took us to an online dating site called OkCupid, which asks visitors for all sorts of personal information.
Are you vegetarian or vegan? Do you drink? What's your relationship with marijuana? And what people don't realize that, so, here you're seeing all the third parties that are present on this site, right? So we're seeing...
So all these people are getting the information?
They're getting some of this information.
The website doesn't require users to give their real name, but the IP address and the computer ID number are recorded, and it's not difficult for data brokers to match that information with other online identifiers. There are firms that specialize in doing it. So you can combine this data with other data that's available and figure out who someone is.
That's right.
By name, by email.
That's right.
The only way you would have known that is by going to the legal section of OkCupid's website, presuming you could find it. Then you'd have to scroll through 3 pages of terms and conditions before finding the privacy policy, which says you should appreciate that all information submitted on the website might potentially be publicly accessible. And if you were one of the billion people who have downloaded the popular game app Angry Birds to your smartphone, or you were one of the 50 million people who downloaded the Brightest Flashlight free app, you didn't realize that the companies that gave them to you for free were using the apps to track your every movement and passing it on to other companies.
Your smartphones are basically little mini tracking devices, and it's collecting information about where you are traveling through the day as it's on in your pocket or in your purse.
Federal Trade Commissioner Julie Brill says geolocation data on individuals has become a hot commodity.
How sensitive is that information?
It's the kind of information that really talks about who you are on a day-to-day basis, where you go, and who you might be visiting with, what shops you may frequent, what time you come home, what time you leave.
Commissioner Brill is pushing for more oversight and transparency. She says people should be able to see the information the companies have on them, be able to challenge it if it's wrong, and opt out of the system altogether if they don't want personal data collected.
Consumers don't know who the data brokers are. They don't know the names of these companies. They have no way to know what website am I supposed to go to? Who do I call? What letter do I write?
The Senate Commerce Committee and its chairman, Jay Rockefeller, have proposed legislation that would do just that. The committee has been investigating the industry for more than a year, and Senator Rockefeller says he's being stonewalled by 3 of its biggest players, Acxiom, Epsilon, and Experian.
I'm putting these 3 companies on notice today that I am not satisfied with their responses, and I'm considering further steps.
Senator Rockefeller called companies like Epsilon the dark underside of American life.
Yeah, that's an interesting phrase, one that I would take offense at.
Brian Kennedy is chairman and CEO of Epsilon, which claims to have the world's largest cooperative database, including more than 8 billion consumer transactions combined with an extensive network of online sources. He doesn't like the term data broker and says Epsilon is a marketing firm that uses data.
Can I go on your website and see everything you have about me?
You can go on our website today, and we offer a method by which we can show you the kind of information that we have about you.
The kind of information,
Right.
not all the information.
What we've done is we've collected the data into categories, into the basic information that is meaningful and understandable to a consumer.
Kennedy says Epsilon has provided the Senate Commerce Committee with binders full of information. He calls the hearings political theater. He sees no need for more oversight or regulation of one of the fastest growing sectors of the economy.
If there are abuses out there, we don't believe those happen within our company, and we would be the first to raise our hand and say, if there are specific uses of data that are problematic, then the government should focus on those particular uses of data, not attempt to regulate the entire industry in a way that could cripple our economy.
You're saying that any kind of regulation on this could cripple the economy?
I am.
And this should be left to industry groups to self-enforce?
We think that self-regulation has been very effective. What we're hearing today is a lot of discussion in Washington. We're not hearing a lot of discussion, frankly, from consumers. It's one of the odd things. So consumers are rushing to the internet to provide more information about themselves than we would have ever imagined.
That surprised you?
It does surprise me. I don't do it myself. I'm a consumer like you are.
So you think it's imprudent?
I think that consumers ought to understand that the internet is an advertising medium.
This is also the position of the Direct Marketing Association, which is one of the most powerful lobbying groups in Washington. Its members include Google and Facebook, the 2 companies that probably know more about us than anyone else. They were not mentioned in our story because they don't sell the information they gather about us. They keep it for themselves.
For secrets that protect your privacy online, go to 60minutesovertime.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
So that's a pretty good overview of where all these data points come from. That story is a couple years old, but it's still self-regulated. And you see when they haul the Google and Facebook and all those people in front of Congress that it's just ridiculous. They don't have any idea what kind of questions to ask or anything else. So, mobile marketing delivers messages, promotions, and other content on the go consumers. Now, what's funny about the picture that I used? I think first three people that text me why I chose this picture and why I use it, I will, let me make a note. I think you'll get 5 extra points on the next exam. Right? So, I have made a note. You heard my Flair pen working of why that's funny. And everybody's probably experienced that mobile marketing. You walk into, or you ride into a shopping center and you start getting messages from people. Hey, download this coupon for the Polo outlet or whatever. Traditional direct marketing forms. Direct marketing was mentioned in the video there, the 60 Minutes story, but direct mail marketing involves an offer, announcement, reminder, or something else addressed to a particular person or occupant at a particular address. Now, since digital marketing and social media marketing is so great, this probably doesn't exist anymore, does it? Oh, but yes, it does. Why? Because it works. They can personalize mail to you to make it look like it's, coming from somebody you know. Easy to measure results because if someone calls in, emails, sends a text, asks a question, you can track it right back to that piece of mail. And you know exactly what zip codes are responding to you or not. It's expensive, right? Especially if you, more so than an ad in a local magazine in your local community, because even though you're paying bulk rate postage on it, they all have to be generated individually. But it provides better results than that ad in your local magazine. And it's still widely used. Catalog direct marketing. This slide talks about printed versus web-based catalogs. A web-based catalog would be if we, just Googled Bath and Body Works, and essentially their catalog is online. So, obviously cheaper than a printed catalog, and you can update, add to the inventory on your website much quicker than you can generate a new catalog and mail it out. Real-time merchandising, interactive, so people can look at ratings and other things that are related to it, all those genius recommenders, and promotional features. What's the challenge? Requires marketing, difficulties in attracting new customers. If I mail a Bath and Body Works catalog to your house, it may get leafed through when you're bored one day, or you're watching Netflix and you leaf through it and you go, oh, I didn't know they had that. You may go to the web and buy it maybe and not call the phone number, but if I don't mail it to your house, what's going to prompt you to think about scanning through the Bath and Body Works offerings while you're bored one day watching Netflix? Nothing. So a lot of times the magazines or the catalogs will come maybe in brief to try to get you to go, look at those boots, those are nice, to get you to go to the website. And of course, we all get catalogs, everybody does, and the older you get, the more you'll get. Why? Because they work. Telemarketing, Lord knows everybody's beset with that. used to be on your home landline. Now with fewer landlines, now they're spoof calling and texting your cell phone. Unless you have a software program that intercepts it, which I do, but sometimes it intercepts ones it shouldn't. So, people calling and offering you to restructure your student debt or sell you extended warranty on your car, outbound marketing, and then inbound telephone marketing provides toll-free numbers. It really doesn't matter anymore. Most people use their cell phones to get orders. So, call right now. When you see those late night television ads, they want you to call so they can sell to you. Or print ads, and maybe they don't provide any other way to contact them but a phone number. And that's telemarketing's traditional direct marketing form, been around forever. Direct response television marketing, like QVC or the old ShamWow or the guy selling the stuff that seals up his glass bottom boat. They're asking for the order. They're trying to get the television call. Call right now and you can get 20% off or whatever it is. A minute to 2 minute advertisements or 30-minute infomercials that you'll see a lot of times on late at night or on Sunday mornings on some channels that don't have a football game. Siding, roofing. Acts like a lot of times they couch them as if they're community interest shows, but they're really just selling shingles or whatever they're selling. Kiosk marketing. This is an iPod, which is funny. I probably should change that picture. Macy's and iPod. But in airports, you lost one AirPod, fell in the toilet or something, and you think, well, man, I need a pair of AirPods. Well, there's a kiosk that's got them. You can put your credit card in there and choose what you want and get you another power supply, and you can get it right there. Doesn't require anybody to man it, just requires somebody to stock it. And it's good if you know what you want. You know what you're looking for. And airports are full of them. I haven't been in a shopping mall lately, but I'd be willing to bet the way they're struggling, they probably appear there as well. So, what are some public policy concerns? Well, irritation. Right? Yeah, these spoof calls, telemarketing calls, they can get on your nerves. Spam email can get on your nerves. Maybe it turns you off where you don't even want to do business with a person. Unfairness. You've seen stories about, people buying airline tickets online with a PC versus a Mac. And the PC buyers getting better prices because they think that the Mac owner has more money because they've spent more money on their computer. Also, impulsive or less sophisticated buyers can be taken advantage of, because the whole world's at your fingertips on the internet. Deception, designing mailers or copy designed to mislead consumers or online, clickbait, headlines and things to get people to click on them so they can get some action. And then just plain out fraud. I've probably had 8 credit cards, numbers, accounts compromised, and cancel them, got new cards and whatever. Financial scams, I'm going to let you in on this, or buy some gold, it's the end of the world. That's just a short list of issues, and it kind of ties back into the data broker story from before. People use those data points to seek out people. They may use it to seek out people that they can take advantage of. So, the concern that marketers may know too much about consumers and use this information to take unfair advantage or in poor ways. Well, there are laws in Europe that are way more strict than we have in the U.S. because it's still policed typically by the companies that are collecting all this data, buying this data and then packaging it up and selling it to people. You know, like he said in the article, retailers decided they had another revenue source. You know, they use I have a Kroger card, and that information of what I'm buying is being sold. As is, I'm sure Target's selling it, and Walmart's selling it, and everybody's packaging up and selling it. And the guy in the interview there with Steve Croft says, yeah, but we use it right. And people that don't use it right, that should be, penalized. Problem is, the problem that I see is the people in government are not, by the time they get around to passing some legislation, the issue is way past where it was because it moves so fast. So policing it is a problem. Should it be done? Probably, to some degree. How do you do it? I don't know. So that is the end of Chapter 17 on mobile